Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I've got a crock pot recipe for you. I'm making some white chicken chili, which normally I do in my Dutch oven, but today I don't exactly have a lot of time because I'm going to a Bible study later on tonight, so I want to make sure that I'm there for that, and I want to make sure that I have dinner done before I leave. So I'm going to throw it in the crock pot, that way I don't have to worry about it later. So let's go ahead and get into today's video. All right, so for this recipe, I'm just gonna use some frozen chicken. This should be a really easy dump and go recipe. To this, I'm gonna add, the recipe calls for 14.5 ounces of chicken broth. If that's all you have, that's fine. I usually get these like bigger things of chicken broth. So I'm actually gonna do, I think I'm just gonna do 2 cups, which is 16 ounces. So it's just a little bit more than the recipe calls for. It's gonna be fine. Okay, I have seriously got to get a new can opener because this one is just messed up. I've had it for a couple of years, so it has served me well, but it's time to get a replacement. So the next we're gonna add is a can of diced tomatoes. Now I have petite diced tomatoes. You can use fire roasted if you want to. I have used fire roasted tomatoes in this recipe before and it is really good. But I'm just gonna use these petite diced tomatoes here. 1/2 cup of celery. So then you wanna use 1/2 cup of celery, and this is perfect. One of the reasons why I wanted to make this recipe is because I'm gonna make a mess all over my counter. One of the reasons why I wanted to make this recipe was because I had extra celery from a couple of previous recipes and I wanted to make sure that I used it all, and I didn't want it to go bad, so I just chop it up and I freeze it. So I have exactly 1/2 cup of celery right here, so perfect. Next, we got 1/2 cup of white onion. Oh my gosh. Way too much. Way too much. We'll do that. Okay. So that's about 1/2 cup of onion. We're just gonna dump that on top. And then we got 1/2 cup of some green bell pepper. 1/2 cup of green bell pepper. Now you can use whatever color bell pepper you want to. The recipe says green, but if you have a red or an orange or a yellow, whatever you have, just use that. It's gonna be fine. To add in 1 cup of refried beans. I'm gonna try and link this recipe down below if I can. I actually got this recipe from a magazine years ago. I don't even remember what magazine it's from, but I'll show you the recipe in just a second in case you want to take a snapshot of the recipe and you want to try this yourself. If I can find it, I will, if I can just remember where the heck I got it from. So you would not actually add the refried beans until later in the cooking process, but because this is more of a dump and go kind of recipe, we're doing it in the crock pot. I'm just gonna add it in now. So I'm sure it'll be fine. So it's 1 cup of refried beans, and I have my own homemade refried beans that I made from pinto beans from a bag. And I could show you that recipe one day. I need to work on it. It is really good. It is actually really simple, but in the cooking process for making your refried beans, you're supposed to bring the water to a boil, and then once it starts to boil, you're supposed to turn it down to a simmer and cover. Well, it started to boil, I covered it, and I set my timer, and I forgot to turn it down to a simmer. So if you can imagine, I boiled all the water away. So making the refried beans took a lot longer than it was supposed to, but I'll perfect it. I'll perfect it. It still turned out really good. It's still really tasty. I've actually used this in some quesadillas already. The flavor is really good. It's really good. But anyway, okay, so we got our refried beans. And one thing that I would actually add into here right now, if I had it, is a can of black beans. What I do have is a can of navy beans. And now I could actually use that, except for TJ just left to go to the grocery store for me, and he's gonna get the black beans. Specifically because, well, he's getting other things too, but he's not just going to the store just for black beans. That would be ridiculous. If that was the case, I mean, I would just use the navy beans. They're going to taste the same. It's just the black beans would just make it more visually appealing, if you know what I mean. Since he was going to the grocery store anyway, he said he's going to pick me up a can of black beans. When he gets back, I'm going to add it to our crock pot. All right, so to this recipe, we're going to add about 2 teaspoons of the chili powder. Okay, I realized that my camera cut off, so I have no idea what was the last thing you saw, but I did 2 heaping teaspoons of chili powder, a teaspoon of the garlic powder, and I'm about to do a teaspoon of some ground cumin. I like cumin, so it's going to be like a heaping teaspoon. I'm going to go ahead and set this to cook on high for 6 hours, and I'm just going to leave this be until TJ comes back from the store with the black beans. I'm going to add it in there, and then we're going to mix everything up. So this is the white chicken chili. Please excuse this right here. I've had this recipe for years. So this is the white chicken chili. Here are your directions. I'm so sorry for the shadow. I have no idea how to perfect this lighting. Here is a list of your ingredients. And there's a picture of it. There's the nutrition facts. It says it serves 4. This is a really nice low-calorie meal. So it says 305 calories, except for down here. Oh, I guess is if you make it a meal, like you serve it with tortilla chips, or an ounce of baked tortilla chips is 425 calories, which is pretty much about what we do. So anyway, but if I can find this, I will link it down below. TJ just got back from the store with the can of black beans, so I'm gonna go open this up, I'm gonna add it to the crock pot, and I'm gonna stir it in. So I got the chicken is all shredded. This is done now. So I'm going to add some of this lime juice, and I'm going to add about that much, give it a good stir, and then I'm going to dish this up. Okay, so these are our bowls. I just dished this up. I put some cheese in here, a little bit of sour cream, and some cilantro on top. I didn't add any for Megan because she doesn't like cilantro, but you could also serve this with tortilla chips, or you could just leave it as is. And if you wanted to add a little extra lime juice, which I might do to ours, you can do that as well. So that is it. That is what is for dinner tonight. All right, y'all, I got a dessert recipe to share with you. You're just gonna need a box of your favorite brownie mix. I just got the Duncan Hines Chewy Fudge. This is actually the 13x9 family size, so that's kind of cool. Thick and fudgy, sounds good. You're gonna need 1 package of softened cream cheese, some vanilla extract, a 1/3 cup of granulated sugar, and 1 egg. I got a 13x9 baking dish. I gotta go get my bowl. This is the recipe. I will link it down below. These are the cheesecake brownies. So let's get started, y'all. I just realized I was not even recording. Okay, so I don't know if I even hit record. I grabbed my camera and I think I just started talking. We're gonna make the brownies according to package. So you're gonna need your eggs, your water, and your oil, which is what I have here. And I'm just gonna mix this up. I cannot believe I did not have this recording. We're making cheesecake brownies, and the next thing you're gonna need is your softened cream cheese, 1 egg, some vanilla extract, and some sugar. And I'll show you what we're gonna do next. But first, we're just gonna mix up our brownie batter. I've never actually made this recipe before. I've held on to this recipe for many, many years. Does anybody else ever do that? They print out a recipe, or they find a recipe and they save it and then just never use it? I don't like doing that. If I print out a recipe, at some point in time, I would actually like to make it, except for, I'll show you, but it is dated here, January 11th, 2008 is when I printed out this recipe. 2008. It's 2023, y'all, and I'm just now making this. I'd say that's pretty much good and mixed. I have my 13x9-inch baking pan here, and I'm just gonna spray this down with some Pam. I mean, seriously. I don't even know if you're cooking unless you're making a mess. So I got my pan here, and I'm gonna go ahead and dump the brownie mixture in here. Next, in this bowl, we're gonna go ahead and, okay, it says to beat the cream cheese with an electric mixer on medium speed until smooth, add our sugar, the egg, and vanilla, and mix only until blended. Okay, so we've got our thing of upside down cream cheese. So you wanna make sure it's softened. This has actually been sitting out all morning, so this is good and soft. All right, and this is about where it's gonna get interesting because this is, it's a big bowl, but it's a shallow bowl. So I am anticipating on this getting all over the place. So let's try it out. So we're supposed to beat the cream cheese on medium speed until nice and smooth. Okay, that was actually a low speed, and I don't know what I was worrying about because this is actually really soft cream cheese. So I guess we're doing okay. Okay, we're gonna call that nice and smooth. So now we're gonna stir in our sugar. So I have a 1/3 cup of white sugar right here, trying to get in the camera. 1/3 cup of sugar. We have 1 egg, some vanilla, about that much. And we're only gonna mix until blended. Okay, I would say that is pretty much well blended. So now we're gonna pour our cream cheese mixture over top of the brownie mixture, and then we're going to bake it at 350 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes. So now we just pour this over top. I tell you, this already looks amazing, and we haven't even really done anything yet. I feel like we haven't even done anything yet. We haven't baked it yet. So now we're trying to go for a marbling effect. We're going to kind of do something like this. Okay, wow. That actually looks pretty. What do you think of that for some marbling effect? I think that looks pretty darn good. Okay, so now I've got my oven set to 350 degrees, and we're gonna stick that in there for about 35 to about 40 minutes. All right. We'll go 36. All right, so I just pulled the cheesecake brownies out of the oven. These are looking so good. They smell amazing. I'm gonna use this to maybe poke right here, make sure that, yep, it's clean. So we're gonna let these cool off. I'm actually gonna cut these up, and the plan is to use these for, we have a church youth group tonight, so that's why I was making these cheesecake brownies. So I'm gonna cut them up, and I'm gonna save them for later on tonight.